related to a structure per se or a change per se. So it could be related to production of something. It could be like you want to produce something out of it, and once the stuff is produced, خلاص, it's automatically qualitative, and so on. It has to be also specific, very specific. The more specific your objective, the more likable that you will be able to achieve it. And again, it has to be relevant to the context of the goal itself. For example, you say the goal here is to build capacities, but your objective is talking about creating, I can say, new projects. It doesn't align at all. You want to build capacities, but you want to create new projects. It doesn't work with the same extent. You have to have in the idea that there is supposed to be objectives that contributes to knowledge generation and so on. It also, but the most important thing is to be time-based, and this is where people forget when to do their objectives, and people forget or write down objectives and don't know how to implement it. If you don't know that this objective, for example, concludes in the next month, there's no way for you will be able to do the objectives. This is the most important thing about planning, having it time-bound and having it specific and measurable. Like I said, so for example, you will increase the members' knowledge on the research initiatives, for example, in the ANAMO by the end of February 2023. So you know that you need to increase their knowledge by 2023, and you start to do action points related to this particular element. So this is the idea of objective type. Another thing that you need to know aside from objectives is action steps, the small mini action steps. So you take the objectives and you start to dissect the objective to see what can you do to create that certain objectives. Assuming that we go with the same example, is that our objective is to increase members' knowledge or increase 50 members' knowledge on a research topic that is present in the ANAMO. In order for us to be able to do that, we have to answer 5 main questions. Simple as that. What actions will you do to increase the members' knowledge? Who is going to do this particular actions? Again, by when? Again, we do it down, even though we said that by February 2023, we're going to do that, but you have to be more specific. Which action step are you going to take, and by when were you going to do that? What resources are you going to use? Are you going to use the required finances money? Are you going to need manpower? Who are the people who are going to help you with that, and so on. And finally, communication. Who should know what? Who should know which action step to take? Do I need to report to someone? Do I need to get permission from someone? Do I need to advertise, promote, or do anything? This is all goes under the action steps that you're going to take to fulfill the objectives. Once you follow the certain process or you answer these main 5 questions, you already have your action step prepared, and you already know what you're going to do to achieve that certain objective. The only thing that is left, simple as it is drafting the indicators. And usually the indicators are ways for measuring or indicating the progress of your projects. So they are your benchmarks. They are the things that tells you the progress. Did I achieve the certain objective or not? At the beginning, we said I need to increase the members' knowledge, or 50 members' knowledge, by February 2023. So in order for me to know if I did achieve the objective or not, I probably have to go and see, did I actually influence 50 members? Did the 50 members have an increase in knowledge or not? Did you change their perception? Did you change their information level? Is there a change in attitude whatsoever? Is there an increase in the confidence level whatsoever? And you are the only one who asks this particular indicator. So the indicator is tailored according to your objective. It could be also tailored according to your action point. It depends on what elements you want to measure. The more indicators you have, the more you are giving yourself more accountability to achieving this particular action step or action point. So it's very important to make sure that you're performing as well as you want to do. Another thing that makes indicator very important is they act as red flags. So let's assume perhaps that you are reaching February 2023 and you sat down to see if you educated 40 or 50 members, and it looked like you didn't. You only reached out to 25. So they give you a red flag that you didn't achieve this certain aspect and you start to look up for plan B. I think coffee or I remember coffee, but I can't remember the main name. Yes, Rasha. I think Rasha mentioned here at the beginning is that is something that you have to do planning for plan B. So indicators act as contingency here. It gives you the red flag that, hey, you're not doing what you have to do, and you have to start thinking of alternative ways to achieve what you have in mind. Simple as it is. So when you think of indicators, you have to make sure that they are specific. You have to make sure that they are measurable. So we had an objective that said increase 50 of the members' knowledge. And one of the objectives or action steps is that we're going to deliver them online sessions to compensate or to give them idea on the knowledge. So for example, that would be the indicator that we have here. So the indicator for that certain objective and action step would be is to have 5 online sessions on research in medical education with 70% satisfactory rate from the participants' feedback. So I was very, very specific is that I'm going to hold 5 sessions. That is my indicator, since I said that I want to do sessions or capacity building event on a particular topic. And the participants that attended need to give me a 70% satisfaction rate when I ask them about the feedback. And that if I fulfill this indicator, I know that I have succeeded and I fulfilled my action point or I fulfilled my action step. And that particularly is simple as it is. So try to implement that basically in our developmental plan. So the first thing that we do in our developmental plan, or if you notice the template that we have, is that we ask you about a SWOT analysis. And that is the first step to working on a particular plan. So in order for you to do a plan, the first thing that you have to do is to identify your needs. So I know for a fact that some of you are already aware of that needs. Some of you already have worked on annual working plan. They know exactly where they want to go. They know exactly what issues is occurring in their animal or the particular standing committee, and they have already created solutions for them. So this is something that I'm hopeful that you already have achieved. But in case that you didn't follow this simple process, I'm giving you an alternative for you to understand where are you heading and to understand what makes your standing committee shine, what makes your standing committee not shine, and so on. In order for you to identify these needs and identify what makes you strong, what makes you weak, we do a simple, or we have a very simple tool which is called a SWOT analysis. By the way, the SWOT analysis is one of the many tools that is present to identify your needs. A simple tool would be just observation. You as a member, you simply observe the standing committee grow and develop in certain aspects, and you can easily identify through observation what kind of next step you need to take and what kind of action you need to take. Other simple thing, of course, aside from observation, is surveys. Simply asking the people around you to give you an idea about their perception of the standing committee, their perception of where it wants to go, their perception about certain activities that happened last year and ways for improvement. So gathering this particular data happens in multiple tools, but we decided in the developmental plan that we want you guys to create is to create the SWOT analysis. So the SWOT analysis per se, I only have one individual here, I believe. So I'm just going to explain it very quickly. Just for the sake of recording, and maybe people later on can understand. So the SWOT analysis is a tool used for you to understand the status of your current organization and to identify current existing internal and external factors that is currently affecting your organizations. So the SWOT analysis helps you to understand your strengths as an organization as a whole, but here we're talking about SCORI, so we need to keep into mind your strength as SCORI, as a leader, as an individual leader, or within your national team, for example. So think about it from personal perspectives, and also think about the strength of the standing committee in general. As an example to that, for example, I as a Nori, I know that one of my strengths is that I have a really good research background. So the Nori, in terms of leadership, has a very good leadership background. And this is what you write here in the developmental plan. Another thing to keep in mind as a strength, for example, is that as a standing committee, I have good members engagement. Yani the human workforce that you have that is interested in SCORI is around 100 members. So this is one of your strengths, is that you have a lot of engaging, motivated members that already work under the standing committee. Again, the same happens with weakness. You start thinking about internally from both the organizational perspective or the standing committee perspective, and internally from you as a leader and the needs of your national team. So a weakness would be is that you already identified that you have good research background, but your members and your national team does not have a good research background. They need to increase their research knowledge a little bit, and knowledge a little bit about managing exchange programs or scoring exchange programs. So that is a weakness that you have identified. You can also think of a weakness related to the standing committee itself. For example, one of the weaknesses is that, let's say that your local committees need more capacitation in terms of external relationships with their universities, for example. You need more to recruit more tutors, for example, for the certain research project, or you need to have more diverse research projects. That is a weakness that you have. Perhaps another weakness is that your committee has a little bit of hidden scopy projects. So that's something to keep in mind. That is a weakness that you have, for example. So I'm trying to give you more exchange lingo, but apologize if my lingo is not very sophisticated per se. So that is the idea of the strengths and weaknesses, and we're already tackling it from an internal perspective. Opportunities and threats, you do it the same way, but you think externally, outside of organization, something that's outside your reach, outside the control of the standing committee, outside the control even of your team of officials. An opportunity, for example, would be is that a research organization within your country that is very well known, opportunity for you is to partner with them, and then you can share some research projects with them together. A threat would be, for example, is that tutors keep dropping out, credibility of the exchange project by the academia itself and recognition per se. So that would be a threat. You don't control that. It's controlled by an external factor that is the academic institution that you're trying to work with, and so on. And that is simply the SWOT analysis. So again, this is just a simple idea about how usually it looks like. In strength, what do you do well personally on a personal level as a leader, and also within the SCORI itself, what is you're well known for, and where do you want to improve? Opportunities is what are your goals in terms of externals, people that you believe can collaborate with, partners, for example, any opportunities being presented in the country, and then threats, with what obstacles are you facing on also an external level. Once you draft that down, and once you list it down in developmental plan, the role of the regional team member is to understand how they can intervene and help you switch these weaknesses into strength, achieve these opportunities together, and make sure that you reach the goals that you want to reach, and eliminate any possible threats that might intervene with your work. So it's very important that when you're doing the SWOT analysis, to be very reflective upon yourself, to be also specific and realistic to amount of time. I don't want you to give us a big overview of the whole SCORI situation for the past 5 years. I want you to list down within the particular years together, what strengths do you have now and what weaknesses do you have at the moment that you want to work on? Because based on that, we as the regional team will start to design our action steps and urge you to design specific steps to tackle these particular issues and challenges, and to enhance more your strengths moving forward. We need to also be aware that being realistic and relevant is important. So don't go overboard, and also be cautious about the fact that we only have 1 year. Now it's not a year, it's around 8 months, to make sure that whatever goal you want to develop on is actually worked upon. So keep that in mind. Right. This is also the SWOT analysis, but from a different perspective. This is how usually we analyze the SWOT analysis. We do something called the TOES matrix. So as you can see on the right side, or basically the left side, you have the internal factors listed, and that is the strengths and weaknesses. And then on the upper column here, you have the opportunities. Can you see the mouse, or should I use something else? Great.
No, it's visible.
It's visible, perfect. And I also use the list. Okay. So, and now here on the top rows, you have opportunities and you have threats. And you start to compare here. Here you start to draft actions that you can do regarding this. So just like a cross analysis. So here you have the strength, and here you have the opportunities. And then you list down their strengths and opportunities together about solutions that you can make in mind, aka how can I make the opportunities my strength? Okay, and then here, how can I use my opportunities that I mentioned above to tackle the weaknesses that I have? So you start to analyze the data that you got in mind. That is a very advanced level. We did not require that from you in the developmental plan. However, when you are drafting it in mind and in your thought process, when you are thinking about the goals, the action steps,